Nicole Byer is the Emmy nominated host of Nailed It. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby here with Nicole. First question, because this season was quite different, where you had pairs of contestants instead of just the, individuals. How did that whole double trouble concept come about?
I assumed the producers were talking and they were like, we should have teams of two. And then they did it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
just
involved in that process.
gotcha. Well, how did you first react when you found out that that would be the concept?
I mean, to be fully honest, I was like, in the middle of a pandemic, okay. But then, but then I like asked questions, and they were like, no, we've taken precautions. The camera operators will be working remote, so there isn't going to be more people on the floor. Also, we're moving to a bigger stage, and I was like, okay, all right, that's good for me.
Right. Well, how do you think it sort of impacted, the taste and the visual look of the cakes?
Okay, so you would think more hands in the kitchen, more, two brains instead of one. This will be delightful. This will be delicious. I gotta say, that was not the case.
Hmm.
I think things were just like just as funny looking. I think it was like four hands. It just got a little too much, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks.
Yeah, but it's that's good for our show.
Right. Well, yeah, because this season you filmed during the pandemic, as you said, we
Mhm.
see that on the show with how you're more socially distanced from the other judges. You're definitely keeping a distance from the contestants. Definitely less of that close interaction we see. Obviously, it was a very heavy time for so many people, and still is. But this is such a joyful show that you still have to bring that energy to it. I think. How difficult was it for you to sort of keep that happier spirit of the show, given what was happening
Um,
everywhere else?
I mean, that's like the basis of comedy. It's like your grandmother could die one day, and then it's like, well, I still have a show that night. Either I
Mm,
cancel it or I go. It's sold out. Do I do it? So it's like you kind of just have to, and I'm not saying you can't like cancel a show when something terrible happens to you, but like you kind of just use it, Like I don't think like most of my COVID jokes didn't make it into the cut. Keep it
fair.
evergreen. But like you comment on the bad thing that's happening, and then you kind of use it and infuse it, and it's kind of like a sketch where you have like a game, and that's the thing you're playing. Like the game of every day was how far away from people can I stay, but like still be funny.
Right. Well, that's interesting to hear that perspective, as a comedian. But did you notice there was any sort of difference with like the crew and, Jacques Torres and the contestants?
Um, no, like our crew's really, really, really great.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, I guess it was weird. Like I couldn't really talk to anybody from culinary. So like on the
Hmm.
last day when I saw some people I hadn't seen the whole shoot, it was just like, oh my God, hello. Jacques is always a ball of joy. He's also like he's a good he doesn't consider himself a comedian, but he's very, very funny. And
Yes.
he also like can use like things that are happening to infuse the comedy. And our guest judges were all really, really, really great. The first thing that almost everybody said to me is like, "Do you feel safe?" And and I was like, "Valid question. I'm the one. I'm
Yeah.
here all the time. I can actually tell you, and I will tell you." And I was like, "Yes, I do."
Hmm. Well, I don't know if you had a favorite episode of the season, but one of the highlights for me was definitely the second episode. I was just rewatching some of it. The one with the drag queens and
Oh
and
yeah,
uh, Ron Funches as the guest judge. There was a
that was.
part where, yeah, there was a part where you had the green screen behind you and you're like pretending to be on a roller coaster. Felt like you were having a little more fun on that episode than usual. Can you talk about filming that episode in particular?
Sure. I usually get like a contestant cheat sheet, so like I know who's walking out to me. And Salmonella and Laguna Blue, they didn't put them in drag on the cheat sheet. So when they dropped, like walked out, I truly was like, oh my God. And then during our pre-production, like we just kind of were walking through what our new marks would be. They were like, "Oh yeah, we have a state fair episode," and I was like, "Oh," and they're like, "Yeah, they're making roller coaster cakes," and I was like, "Oh, so for a panic, can you just like put a green screen behind me and I'll, be on a roller coaster. And they were like, yeah, that's funny. And I was like, mm-hmm. And then there was other pitches that didn't make it in. I asked to be in a hamster ball.
Sure.
Uh, to keep 6 feet away. And I was like, lower me from the ceiling. I'll be 6 feet away. And then I was like, give me a big plexiglass. I'll be behind. They were like, no, Nicole, we don't have time for that. We have so many other things to do. But that episode was so much fun. Like it was just fun to watch, queens they wore heels the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Nails kept popping off, popping them back on. Yeah, it was fabulous.
I was wondering about the practicality of, having all of that. But, so you have had a number of great guest judges over the years. Do you have a favorite from that time that you sort of wish could have joined you for more episodes, or even like joined you full time almost?
I wish Jason Mantzoukas had joined us again. I love him so much. He has this like chaotic energy that's also controlled. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
and he's so funny.
Yeah, he really is. I know you've had like Sylvia Weinstock a few times actually.
Oh,
She's so unique and so fun that I definitely want her on like every season.
Sylvia's so funny. There was one time where we were shooting and she was like, "Can I have a sandwich?" And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to lunch soon." And I was like, "She's very get her a sandwich." Like she's lived for so long. If she wants a sandwich, get her a sandwich. And then they got
Amen.
her a sandwich and it was all fine.
Yeah.
She's just I just love her. She's just like, "This is what I need."
Well, just doing this show for so many seasons, I'm sure it becomes difficult to remember individual cakes and whatnot. But
Uh-huh.
do you have one that you can recall even to this day that you just can't get out of your mind for whatever reason? From the visuals, the
Um,
taste.
Probably those unicorn cakes, which I think was the very first season. So, like, before anyone knew what the show was, people were really, really, really fucking it up. Like, these people served us cakes that were, all of them were like half baked, but then in like a bowl of soup cake. And you were like, how? How did you make this? How did you bake this, but not this? It was so, and then Jacques was like combing through it to figure out what we could and couldn't eat. Yeah, that was honestly the best for me.
Yeah. I will always remember the Donald Trump cakes from season
Uh,
one, and the specifically the one that looked like like a villain from a Tim Burton movie was just like truly haunting. Um, but having done all these episodes of this show, you've seen contestants make the same kinds of mistakes, I would imagine. What would you say that you've learned the most maybe about baking just from doing the show and watching the trial and error?
I guess what I've learned is to just like trust the measurements and like actually measure stuff. Yeah, that's what I learned because baking is truly an exact science.
Yeah, I was always curious like how detailed the instructions were on the
I'm
show.
pretty sure we tell them, I think we tell them every, like, they get like full ingredients and like measurements.
Right.
But I think we just don't tell them how to assemble it.
Gotcha. And that is where things just go
Yeah.
haywire. Gotcha. Well, I also wanted to talk about this since we're an awards website. You hosted the Creative Arts Emmys
Yeah.
last year, which took place over 5 nights,
Mhm.
wearing the same dress.
Same dress.
Yep, yep. Can you talk about that experience just hosting like a virtual ceremony?
Yeah, it was a little hard because
Mm,
usually when you're hosting, you have an audience and people give you feedback instantaneously. They go, ha ha ha, we like it, that was funny.
right.
Or it's dead ass silent, and you're like, I didn't like that one. Hopefully we'll get them back. But this was like, nobody was laughing because you have to get the shots. So like that was kind of hard. Um, and it was outside, which is also like the elements. It was hot, but ultimately it was like really fun. I really liked it. I like hosting, and it was truly an honor. I was like, oh, they're letting me host because RuPaul's gonna win best best host. They're like, oh, we gotta give her something.
Consolation prize, perhaps.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's fine by me.
yeah. Well, because not only was Nailed It nominated again for Best Competition Series, but for the first time, you were nominated yourself
Yes.
as Best Reality Host.
Yes,
And
which is so fucking wild. And I'll
yeah,
never win as long as RuPaul is hosting Drag Race. And that's okay with me
there
because
you
I'm
go.
obsessed with Drag Race and she deserves
Yes.
it.
Yes. I mean, you were in pretty great company, even outside of
Yeah.
RuPaul. You had the Queer Eye guys and the Top
Mhm.
Chef hosts, Shark Tank hosts, Nick
Yeah, I
Offerman, Amy
know.
Poehler.
Which is so wild.
Yeah. But I mean, how did you actually first react when you heard the news of your nomination,
How did I react?
if
Well,
you can remember?
I was in bed because I love sleeping in.
Yes.
And I think it was Jen, who's one of the executives at Netflix. She had texted me congratulations, and then a bunch of other people had texted me congratulations. And I just texted her back. I was like, oh, yeah, Nelda got nominated again. That's honestly so wonderful. I love that people love this show. And she was like, no, bitch, you. And I was like, wait, what? And then I like went on like the internet to be like, wait, what? And I looked it up and I was like, oh shit. And then I went into my roommate's room and I was like, would you like to watch Lord of the Rings with an Emmy nominee? I had to watch Lord of the Rings for this podcast because the work
Yes.
never stops. But
Sure.
he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I was nominated for an Emmy. And then it was just like a fun day to say that over and over again.
Well, now you'll always be Emmy nominee Nicole Byer,
I know. Isn't
which is
that
how you
fun?
should be introduced everywhere.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I was like, do I change my driver's license to Emmy
I
nominee
think so.
Nicole Byer?
Yeah. If it can fit. Yeah. Well, you kind of already mentioned it there, but RuPaul's Drag Race, you were actually a guest judge this season,
Yeah.
which was very well received by the audience, I must say. And you've mentioned certainly how it's one of your favorite shows. Can you describe what it was like actually joining the panel for a few episodes this season?
Yeah, it was so fun. It was the first time I got to do a main season. I'd done 2 episodes of All Stars, which is
Mm-hmm.
always so fun because you get to like walk in and you know all the queens, you just
Right.
don't know which queens are there. So it's always like fun to like see a reveal. And I got to watch the Snatch Game unedited, which is like, my God, a few people have gotten to see that. But doing 2 episodes last season was truly so much fun because you got to see queens like grow. So I got to see the pork chopped queens twice. And then I got to see the other queens who had won their first lip sync for the first time. Yeah, it was just like really cool. It was like really, really, really fun. I was there for the ball challenge. So I got to see, God, I don't know, so many looks. Yeah, it's honestly, it's like one of my favorite jobs that I get to do, and I hope they have me back.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are hoping that for sure. Um, and you are really just keeping yourself very busy between this and the podcasts and I mean Wipeout. I saw
Hmm.
you the other day on the celebrity dating game. I mean, you're all over the place. And I'm wondering,
Ryan.
yeah. Well, I'm wondering whether, when you're sent an offer to do something, or, you're in communication to do something, if you have any sort of unwritten rules for what you do and don't want to do, just what it is that excites you about a project.
Um, I always think, will I have fun? Um, Lucy Liu has this great quote. She's like, it's good to have like fuck you money. So it's like you
Yes.
don't have to take a project that you're like, I know the producers aren't like they're not great people. The people involved are bad. I'm not gonna have a good time. So I don't have fuck you money yet, but I do have like, is it gonna be fun money? So it's like I do things that I think are gonna be really fun. And yeah, like tickle me. Like the celebrity dating game was fun. I was like, what if I meet Mr. Perfect? And I I did not,
Uh, yeah.
that's just my lot in life. But it was fun. It was so much fun. Michael Bolton,
Yeah.
what a dream. And then Zoe Deschanel, what a treat. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's like when offers come in, I'm always like, am I gonna have fun?
Gotcha. Well, you've been a host, a judge, a commentator on all these different projects, and I'm wondering, if you've thought at all about what makes a good host or a good judge or a good commentator, and if you were to maybe offer advice to someone who would be wanting to do what you do, what you would say.
Um, I think what makes a good host is having a point of view. Like Alex Trebek, he hosted a quiz show, and you could just like host it like with no personality, but he had so much personality, and you knew when he didn't like a contestant's answer, he
Oh
thought
yeah.
it was corny. Like you just felt like, I think having a point of view is so important. I think being engaged and actually liking the subject matter, or if you don't like the subject matter, like having a full-blown opinion about it. Like, I'm not a baker, but I love to eat, so that's my point of view. Also bringing yourself into it, like they hired you for a reason. Why would you try to serve them something other than you? And yeah, I think sometimes people get hired for things and forget to have fun. It's entertainment. That's what the business is called. So you
Show
have to
business.
entertain people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, show business, put on a show.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do things fully for myself. And if other people laugh, then that's the bonus.
Right. Good side benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just in these last few minutes here, going back to Nailed It. We assume you'll be back for another season. It's a very
I
popular
hope
show.
so. Oh, from your lips to Jesus's ears.
Yes, we'll manifest it. Um, I don't know if you're going back to solo contestants or if there's other ideas floating around that you've heard about, thought about, not to put you on the spot with, other ideas for seasons, but have you given any thought to, like, what might be an interesting concept if suddenly you had creative control?
Suddenly, if I had creative control, I mean, I'd have
Yes.
more drag queens. Um, I wouldn't edit out all my F bombs. No, I'm kidding. I don't mind that I'm edited a little family friendly. What would I do differently? Honestly, just probably like more themes that like I'm on board with. I can't remember what season it was, but we did like Mardi Gras theme. So people had to make a cocktail, and oh baby, I liked that. It's always fun to drink at work.
Makes sense.
Um, yeah, I think I would just do more. Probably, honestly, if I had full control, I would just make contestants make things of me. I'm a very vain
Wow.
person, and I think I'm stunning. So it's like, make me because I'm pretty.
That should be the last episode of Nailed It. Is just make a cake of Nicole Byer.
A full blown cake of me.
Yes, full body.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, for those of you watching, subscribe for more interviews and head to goldderby.com to make your Emmy predictions. Nicole, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much for having me.